Hello and welcome to the first ever, well, not the first ever, but it's the first episode of this new podcast. I haven't really named it yet. Maybe I'll think of a name by the time I publish it, but this is my little podcast here, and I kind of just wanted to, go over it and kind of give you a mission statement for like what to expect going forward. So my name is Nick and I run the channel Super Nicktendo, and this is on a separate channel, so make sure that you're subscribed for that. But basically the reason for this podcast is that I have like this writer's block all the time, and I just need something to just like take a break and keep my creative juices just fresh and flowing, and still come out with content and make myself feel that I'm not doing anything. So basically I've kind of like committed to doing this every Sunday. Like I'm recording this on Sunday. I don't know exactly when it's going to go live, but I'm pretty much just going to like record on Sunday and then release it in the week, so that way you guys have something to look forward to. I'm trying to make this a weekly thing. I haven't gotten my little wings yet on here, but hopefully it turns into something that you guys can get to know me, and I can talk about things that aren't related necessarily to retro video games, maybe pop culture and stuff, like movies, and like what my random thoughts of different things and stuff as time goes on. So if you guys have suggestions of what you guys want me to talk about, feel free to leave it down in the comments below. So here we go. Basically, like I said, I'm trying to make it weekly, 30 to 45 minutes, maybe an hour. We'll see how long I can actually keep this going here, but that's the goal here. I don't really want to make it like more than an hour. An hour max is the thing. And it'll be just me talking into the camera, with the occasional guest. Like, so I'm open to guests in the future and stuff, like, just to kind of chill, maybe just like a little spotlight, like a section or something like that, not necessarily like a co-host or anything like that. So basically let's have a good time, and I'm just gonna go right now over the format here. I got basically what I'm going to talk about is YouTube videos that I want to talk about, games that I've been playing, video games or videos that I'm working on. Also, I'm going to try not to edit this as much as possible. Just kind of get everything all situated and everything like that. So it'll be uncut and raw. So where was I? So I'm going to talk about YouTube videos that I want to talk about, games that I've been playing, videos that I'm working on, and a question and answer section for the future. So if you have any questions, for me, or, just my thoughts on something, feel free to leave a comment, and I will, gather up those questions, and, we can just go from there. In the future, maybe I'll just, put a community post saying, hey, leave your questions here and I'll answer them. It could be anything really, on a certain subject, thoughts on YouTube or whatever and stuff like that. I'm trying to like keep it as open as possible here. So let's get into the main podcast here. So let's talk about a couple of YouTube videos that I watched, starting with the RGT85. So if you guys haven't been paying attention to RGT85, like, I follow him on Twitter, and he specifically, it was a couple of weeks, like a week ago, where he was like, man, I'm just not feeling good. Like, I've been up all night and stuff like that. My ear hurts. I think it's like an earache, and it just wasn't getting better. And he went into the hospital. And then, like, he was like, yeah, I'm in the urgent care and stuff like that. So, maybe he's just hurting and stuff. Like, I was recently in urgent care. I had an ear infection, and then like a week later I got an ear infection in the other ear. So I know what it's like to have like an ear infection. It's like one of the worst like chronic infections that you can possibly have, because it's just so uncomfortable. But so then he was like, yeah, they're keeping me overnight and stuff. And you're like, oh man, like, that's kind of weird. Like, why would you keep overnight for like an ear infection? or whatever. And so it, came out, for a while and stuff like that. And he posted and stuff. He had like something to do with his heart. And he went over the whole video, and I'm not going to like word for word it, but basically he had like a heart attack without the heart attack symptoms and stuff. So he had like really, really high blood pressure. He had like something like 285 or something like that, which is like insane for blood pressure. You don't want really to be very high. So and he said that if he had kind of ignored it, it's possible that he would have passed away, which is terrifying because RGT85. The reason why he has 85 in his name is because he's born in 1985, and that's 2 years younger than me. So when RGT85, a guy who's 2 years younger than me, has heart issues and stuff, you kind of want to take notice and stuff. So I'm glad that he's okay. I did reach out to him because he was saying that he didn't have insurance, and I've had experience with not having insurance before. And I told him, I said, hey, like FYI, like if you don't have insurance on, basically what happens is that when you go to a hospital and they send you a bill, usually that's the bill that they send your insurance. And so when you don't have insurance, basically you get what they would bill the insurance. And a little thing about insurance is that they never really pay what that actual bill is. They don't really go into detail on your hospital bill, but usually like if something of a doctor, like if a doctor comes in and charges you a visit and he bills the insurance $1,000, chances are that he's only going to get, or they're only going to get like 500 back or something like that. So they always overbill, because if they underbill and the insurance was going to pay more, they're going to pay the lesser of the two. So that's why they always like inflate the price. And that's always why when you see online, you see like these sticker shocks of like a hospital stay in the United States costing like, $150,000 or something like that. But in reality, it's a fraction of that cost. It's still very expensive if you don't have insurance, which is, unfortunately the problem with the American healthcare system in general is that we're expected to have insurance. And if you are a self-employed person like RGT85, you don't have automatic insurance. You need to go and find it on the marketplace or something like that. And it's almost always much more expensive than if you were to have it through your employer. So, honestly, like, and that's kind of the problem too, is like when you forego the insurance because you think that you're healthy and stuff, and then something catastrophic happens, then you're really in a pickle when it comes to actual like Medicare debt, medical debt. So he never responded to me. Obviously he's got like a crap ton of followers and stuff like that, so it probably got lost with it. But I don't really expect him to respond either. But that's what you should be doing too. If you are in a position where you don't have insurance for whatever reason, like sometimes like, people, they're in between jobs, or, that can affect it and everything. But if you're ever in that situation, you really need to talk to the hospital or wherever you're coming from and explain to them like, hey, I don't have insurance. Like, what can you do for me? And a lot of times hospitals will work with you. They're not necessarily in the business of like making sure that you're bankrupt, as evil as most people make them out to say. They still have a mission to actually make sure that you can still afford something. So like they'll take some money rather than no money. Like they would rather work with you and say, okay, how much can you afford and everything, and we'll put you up on a payment plan or something like that. Or they'll like renegotiate your bill and stuff, which again, like it's kind of ridiculous that life-saving care is negotiable. Like there's no really other a handful. There's only like a handful of like services out there that you can actually negotiate with. Everything else is kind of like you see the sticker price on the item and that's what it pays. But when you go to get healthcare and stuff, especially if it's a life and death situation, like with RGT85, like you don't really have a time to negotiate, right? You can't be like, they're like, oh, we need to prep you for surgery like right away, and it's like, oh, well, I don't have insurance and stuff. How much is this all gonna cost? Like no one tells you up front. It's always they bill later. Like you would never take your car into a mechanic, with your car broken or something like that, and just take it to a mechanic and then hope that the bill isn't going to bankrupt you, right? So it's unfortunate, but I hope that Sean, he doesn't get into too much trouble, especially with his situation and stuff. He, just bought a house. He bought like that sweet Mercedes Cosworth car and everything, and kind of like getting his life into order. He stopped smoking. He was like starting to work out and eat healthy and stuff, and then like his body was just like, yeah, I don't like this, and but that's also kind of a tell about like how your body eventually just like catches up with you. Like if you were abusing it for a very long time, like I'm not saying that like Sean necessarily like straight up abused his body, but when you eventually like your body will take its toll and everything, and so that's another little lesson there. It's like even if you're in your late 30s, like I'm gonna turn 40 this year, so you gotta take care of yourself. It's unfortunate, like that's we're playing video games that we played back when we were 8 or 10 years old and stuff, and now we're having heart attacks at this, like 8-year-old me playing DuckTales 2 or something like that on his NES. Never in a million years would be like, hey, you should probably lay off all of those ho-hos and ding-dongs and not put a whole bunch of salt on everything. Start to eat healthy. I've been getting on that track and stuff. I don't eat 100% healthy, but I've stopped drinking soda for a full year now. So, like I am a water guy. I drink most of my water here. And, I drink the occasional beer and everything, but I don't smoke, and I, try to limit my, recreational activities to make sure that I'm being as healthy as possible. So I really hope that RGT, he gets better soon. It looks like he is on the mend. He's able to make a video, but like you can see, like he's really, really tired. Like that's a catastrophic event that happens. Like when you have a heart attack, you almost die and stuff. It's not like you just rolled your ankle or something like that. It's definitely something that you need to take seriously, and it does look like he's doing it. So I'm rooting for him. All right, so next topic here. We're going to talk about the next video that I want to talk about. Again, like, if you guys have any suggestions for YouTube videos in the future, I'm trying to, like, gauge, like, how much time that I've been, like, talking about each subject and everything. So, in the future, it might be, like, only 2 videos or 1 video, depending on, like, how much time I've got. But, anyway, let's talk about Pat the NES Punk, Pat Contri, and his latest video, Destroying the Amico. So, this one I've been wanting to talk about for a bit. And, I'm on Twitter. I've talked about it a little bit on Twitter. But, like, I hate Twitter in the sense that, like, you have to have a very black and white take on everything. And if you don't get your point across in 240 characters or less, then it's just gonna like make you look bad and everything. So basically, if you haven't been aware of the Intellivision Amico, basically it started off as this ambitious project about a retro console that was going to be retro inspired about the based off of the Intellivision from the 80s. My dad had an Intellivision, so I was kind of excited about it because, it's always interesting to see like new things, like with the Atari VCS and the other things about it. So basically, it hasn't come out yet. It probably won't, and it's just been catastrophically it's been like the biggest train wreck in recent history. Like the Coleco Chameleon wishes that it was as like I don't know. The Amico wishes that it was as catastrophic as the Coleco Chameleon because at least like people kind of forgot about the Coleco Chameleon and like just kind of moved on from it. But for the past, it's been like 5 years since the Intellivision Amico was even announced, and like it's been like a continuous every single month is just something. Like it's slowing down now, but like you're just like watching it. So basically, Pat Contri, Pat the NES punk, like he's I've been listening to his podcast for a very long time, and so this pops up, and Pat is just like, it doesn't look like it's a good system. Like I don't like he was kind of indifferent to it for the most part, and like Pat along with a lot of other people are kind of like, it doesn't really make sense to create a brand new console and platform when there are other things that exist, especially for retro things. Like there's plenty of other like retro inspired consoles and everything. The retro market has like went from like this little niche market to this like really saturated thing where it's like everything is new, that's retro and stuff. Like Atari has been like really just milking the brand for all it's worth. And so when the Amico was announced, people were like, do we really need like another like modern retro console? And then they like pivoted to, oh, it's about families and stuff. And basically along the way, Pat and Tommy Tallarico got into a personal spat about it. And if you've been following Pat for a while now, you know that once it's personal for good. So you kind of have like I've been following him for so long. So like every time that he gets into an issue where it's like it's personal for him, like he will bury you. And one of the things that when this was going back and forth, I interviewed Tommy Tallarico a while back, and he, like towards the end of the episode and stuff, I really wish I would have recorded it, but this is after we stopped recording. But I told him, I said, hey, like, FYI, probably not really a good idea to keep antagonizing Pat. And he was like, why? Like, he's just like, he's like a nobody. Like, he's got 200,000 subscribers. Like his channel really hasn't grown that much. And I was like, he's got a pretty dedicated podcast audience. And like he takes these to heart, and I wouldn't write him off just because like he's this thing. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. And like I think that's like one of the things that ended my relationship with Tommy Tallarico in the first place, because he was really enthusiastic to talk to me and everything. And I, told him, I said, I said, I was like, man, I really respect Pat because, like he knows what he's talking about. And, for the most part, like I may not agree with him on every single thing, but like I can at least respect his opinion on things. And like Tommy was kind of like, yeah, whatever. And so Tommy never really talked to me again. Like when the interview came out, when I published it, he was like, yeah, just reach out to me, I'll retweet it and everything like that. And he never retweeted it. And I sent him a DM and I was like, hey, did you forget? And he's like, oh, I'm on vacation and stuff like that. Tag Intellivision, they'll retweet it. Tagged them, they didn't retweet it. So that's that. But so flash forward to 2023, Pat comes out with his Pat the NES Punk, pretty much just lambasting any of these like Amico shills, as you will call them. And basically, Amico shill is these people were incredibly enthusiastic about the Amico, and to a flaw, pretty much to a fault. And and some of them are still on the Amico bandwagon, despite the wheels falling off a very long time ago and it catching fire, and everybody on board is just abandoned ship. So it's still kind of like a weird thing to have. So Pat, in his, because when you make things personal with Pat, like, he will let you know where you stand with him. And one of the biggest critics, I guess you could say, is Smash JT. Basically, all this issue come in, and he just railed him. And so, like, the thing is, too, is, like, I thought the episode was okay for a Pat the NES Punk video. Like, I think, like, the funniest moment was pretty much when he was telling Frank that he invested in Intellivision, and Frank's like, Intellivision? You invested in Intellivision? Like, Pat, like, I can find a TV at Costco and they'll throw in a DVD player for free. Like, why are you investing in television? Like, that was the funniest part of the episode. I particularly don't necessarily care for the Pat the NES Punk episodes. Like, they are, like, Pat is such a good writer, but, like, he's just so, I don't know, it really, like, his comedic timing and stuff is so just rigid and stuff. Like, the episodes, like, it almost seems like he wrote them and then filmed them in a day, for some reason. Like, just the way that he, like, his comedic timing, where he, like, says a joke and then he just, like, looks at you like, huh, like, get it? It's a joke. It's a joke. You get it? It's funny. And it's like, yeah, I know what jokes are. Just reach the punchline and then move on. So basically, it became like this entire thing where he just roasted mainly Smash JT, because Smash JT obviously is a person who called Pat a fraud, did all this nasty videos, reaching out against the haters of the Amico, and on top of it all, he invested $10,000 into the Amico because he believed it. And so obviously not a really good look for Smash JT, because, like, on top of, like, him losing face and putting his entire reputation on the Amico, and the Amico not coming out, he just, like, his channel was already, like, I mean, he had really lost interest in making videos in the first place and stuff. Every so often you'll come back and talk about something. But okay, well, my SD card ran out of space for the first time ever, so I was in the middle of talking and everything. So that's podcast life, isn't it? But where was I? So basically, Smash JT, he responded to the video, and he, for the most part, like, was pretty humbled by the experience. I mean, I personally, I don't know how I would, like, come back from people who, just, like, totally roasted me. And on internet, like, Pat, for the most part, like, he doesn't have, like, that big of an audience on YouTube, despite having it's got like 100,000, almost 100,000 views in 7 days, which is really good for his channel recently, because most of the time he's getting like 20,000, 60,000 and stuff. Like, he's not really getting too much, like, certain topics that he talks about and stuff like that, get maybe 10K views at best. But, like, his Miko content definitely is, like, his bread and butter. So I mean, why wouldn't he like try to talk about it much? But yeah, basically for the most part, like he gets certain things here, and so yeah, like that's no fun for everybody, especially if everybody knows who the guy is talking about. Like Smash really didn't really get called out by name, but other people surrounding him did and everything, and it was pretty clear who Pat was trying to really go on to. So I feel sorry for Smash, but at the same time, it like it kind of like it really stings a little bit. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like it was kind of justified in a sense, like because for the most part, like when you go and you tell somebody that they're a fraud and you don't really have any evidence to back it up, and you're just basing your opinion on what information that you've gotten from a person who, there's documented evidence that this person is blowing smoke up your butt. And then you still double down and you call somebody a fraud, and then you also make a baseless accusation of Ian when he, was sick and everything, like to say that he faked his illness or to allude to that. See how you can not accept responsibility for saying stuff like that. I can forgive somebody being hyped about the Amico or any other system and stuff, but like it really was bothersome that he went so hard into it, especially when, like, if you look at his channel too, it's like he had just got finished like ripping the Atari VCS a new one for pretty much the same things that the Intellivision was doing. Like, basically, like he really ripped into it because Atari called RGT85 a fake news or something like that. And he can't, like, Smash, like, he's like, yeah, how dare they call this guy, he's just asking questions and all this other stuff. And then you have like the where's the self-awareness, because you're calling Pat, the NES punk, like a fraud and stuff. So it's like, I don't know, it's just like, do you not see where it's coming from and stuff? Like, I get, like, having that money invested into it, like, you definitely want it to succeed. Like, when I put my money in for the Atari VCS, like, obviously I paid for it up front, and it took 3 years to get to me, or 2.5, and so obviously you want to root for those systems, but at the end of the day, like, I kind of like half expected the Atari VCS to never come out. And the same thing with the Intellivision. I put $100 onto it. I still haven't asked for my refund yet, and I probably never will get a refund. So I'm okay with like not ever seeing my money ever again. So, but yeah, like when you put in that much money and stuff, obviously you want your investment to succeed, but you're just like, you're trying to squeeze blood out of a stone, especially when this company is like just at every single corner, like throwing out all of these Ferrari red flags that say that you probably shouldn't be trusting these people about, like, with the money and stuff. And it turns out that most people were right. I think, like, at the beginning of it, it's really easy to throw around the word scam, because that's what everybody uses. But I think a lot of people were like, maybe we should, like, we've been fooled with the Coleco Chameleon, we've been fooled with the Atari Watch, we've been fooled with all of these, like, scam Kickstarter projects, and then all of a sudden, like, this one's supposed to be different. Like, it's okay to be, like, the skepticism probably would have gone a long way to ensuring that, like, this project actually got off the ground. But when you have a a CEO who, just burns money like it's nothing and stuff. It's hard to, trust that. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about that. Maybe I'll talk about the Amico more in a future video. I had like a series like Atari VCS versus the Amico, and I was like really excited because like I was like, the Amico is finally gonna come out because I have the Atari VCS. I now have 3 of these things. And then I'll be able to compare them side by side, and it's like waiting. I was like, it's probably never gonna happen. But I think if it doesn't come out by June, I'll make another video, and it'll be the final Amico video. All right, moving on. Games that I have been playing. So I've been trying to play more games. Like, I have this big collection, and I just sometimes just don't sit down and watch and play games and stuff. But I've been trying to like get into it. So one of the things that I've been playing is the Analog Pocket, and I've been playing like the Open FPGA course, and one of the cores that I'm really excited about is this Outrun core. So Outrun, it's this famous Sega arcade cabinet. You're driving around, and you have to meet certain legs of the race in order to get it, and like it runs really well on the Analog Pocket. There's like a little bit of like glitchiness about it. It's still like in beta, but it runs really well, and for whatever reason I can't load it up on my Mr. FPGA core for now. I'm having like issues with it, but for the most part that's what I've been playing too. And Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2 is like my favorite Mega Man, and like I've only beaten it like once before, and the game is like you have to learn how to do it and stuff, but like once you finally learn it, it's like each stage isn't that long, and so you can kind of get really good practice. So I've been actually like using save states so I can get much better at the game, so that way I can go through it. Now I'm at Wily's Castle, and like there's certain parts where I still have to practice and everything. So I haven't beaten it yet, but I will. All right. Videos that I'm working on in the future. Okay. So part of the podcast, I kind of want to like give you a little behind the scenes of like what I'm working on. Not necessarily like every single idea that I'm working on. I kind of want to keep certain things close to my chest, because I've had ideas stolen in the past because of my production schedule is so long and stuff, because I work full time, and it's just difficult sometimes to just like make videos. So I try not to like tell everybody my ideas. One, because like I don't want people to steal them, but also because I don't want to create this expectation, because sometimes the way that like my brain process works, if I tell you a certain video is going to come out this week, and I come across and like I get stuck on a writing of a video or something like that, and I have to like shift it, then I've essentially just misled my audience. Like I've set a wrong expectations about it. So I don't really mention these videos that I'm working on until like I'm like really close to but it's a podcast, so I mean I don't even know how many people are going to be watching this. So if it blows up, then I'll kind of like really keep it close to my chest, drop the topic altogether. But so the next video that I'm working on, the video today is the 22nd. So the 22nd, this week coming out, I'm doing one on graded games. So I haven't really been talking too much about graded games. Like I talked about the WADA thing a while back, but something has like come to my attention about like graded games. Like I've been following a subreddit of our game collecting. There's a whole bunch of, there's like maybe 4 or 5 people who grade games, and they constantly post in the subreddit, and there's only maybe like one or two people who legit like want to be part of the game collecting subreddit community. And then the others, they just want to antagonize, like they want to be trolls about it. So that's what I'm like going to talk about. It's like why I don't grade the games. So by the time that this episode comes out, the video will be already out. So I've been working on that. I'm almost finished, and I have been also giving myself some chance to work on like the script and everything, and like try to like be a little bit more open with adjusting certain things, and like also being a person who you know, I want to write a little bit more emotionally and stuff instead of being very pragmatic and everything. I want to put like certain feelings behind it. I usually try to avoid making controversy in my videos, but I'm trying to like make it so that way it's like a little bit better, where people can engage and like have a conversation about it without pissing too many people off. That's one thing that I really regret with the limited run video. I thought that I did a really good job with that limited run video, but still I got a lot of nasty people in my comments and stuff, and that is stressful for me, because like, you know, when somebody is like that, it's not that they disagreed, it's like they, you know, they lobbed like personal insults and stuff like that. So like I kind of want to like make sure that I'm you understand where I'm coming from, but like also just like you can disagree with me and like leave a comment or something like that explaining why, but you don't immediately like turn to, you know, saying that my stuff is bad and stuff, you know, like I don't, obviously like those are people that don't really deserve to be engaged into the conversation either, but still like it's like I want to try to mitigate that as much as possible. I kind of want to attract an audience that like is mature enough to be like, okay, yeah, I disagree with what you're saying, but also I respect it. Then there's a couple of other videos down the pipeline. I'm talking about preservation of video games. I am stuck on that one. I actually have my wife looking at the script. It's one of the longest episodes that I've ever written. It's close to 5,000 words. Most of my other episodes that I write, they're maybe like 2,000 or so. That's usually like, so it comes out to maybe 15 to 20 minutes tops. But this one is a little bit longer and stuff, and I really want to get it right because it's an episode that I can see as like a reflection of how the channel will be perceived in the future as people are coming across it and stuff. It's not like I try not to be too full of myself about it, but like it's one of those videos that like I really want to get right the first time. And then the other stuff is Retronomics. So Retronomics, for the most part, I've been trying to like keep coming out, but again, like I try really hard not to be a person who milks a topic. You know, even though that's kind of like the YouTube advice that people tell you you're supposed to do. You're like, oh, if a video pops off, like you're supposed to lean into the topic and talk about this topic. And I'm like, okay. But then like it comes out and I'm like, man, do I really want to be the guy who like talks about the Wii U like every other week? Like, do I want to be that guy? So I'm working on those episodes. You know, I mentioned in my community post that I wanted to try to have like one evergreen video about the system that I was talking about, and then have these pricing videos to like link back to. So that's what I'm going to do, and the next one's going to be about the Wii U. I'm not going to elaborate too much on it until it's closer to done, because like I haven't even written those episodes yet. So that's all that I have to talk about right now. So I hope that you found this podcast fun. And let me know what you want me to talk about in the next video, and make sure that you like and subscribe, because this is a different channel. So it's not the actual Super Nicktendo channel. It's a podcast channel. I don't even know what the heck to call this stuff. It'll just be Super Nicktendo Unscripted, I think. But yeah, like, make sure to like and subscribe, and then eventually I will have an audio version of the podcast on Spotify in the future and stuff. So that's it.